Welcome back. This is going to be a very, very exciting episode. I can't wait to share all the ideas that I'm going to be speaking about tonight, just because I really think this could help a lot of people. You see, I was recently speaking to a father, and he was telling about his son who is 19, 20 years old, 19, 20, but 19 or 20 years old. And he was saying how he is the type of kid who is very successful in terms of his own capabilities. He has a beautiful voice. He's very athletic. He has a lot of friends. He has all the things that are any parent will wish for their child. And yet when it comes to being put in the situation where he can step into it and lean into the moment, he always shies away. Like, he never takes advantage. Like, if somebody, I would ask him to sing, in Judaism we have this, we have a lot of prayers, and a lot of people get up to sing. And if somebody would ask him to pray for in front of the congregation, he would never say yes, because he was always shy or nervous. Or when he was on the basketball team, he never wanted to be in at the end of the game. And it was interesting because the more he was talking, the more I just saw that he literally was talking to me as, an 18, 19, 20-year-old, because I was the same exact way. I think I had certain skills and I would never put myself out there. And for certain reasons, which we're going to talk about tonight, I think there were different ideas about it, whether it was I couldn't get myself to want to be that top guy because I didn't want to I don't want to be number one. I was okay with being a number two. I always said I would be a great number two in a company, but like I never wanted to be a number one. Or it was because I lack certain things inside. And I think for many people, there are certain things that they want to be doing. They want to be able to take advantage of, and for some reason they're not able to. They can't move forward. They can't do the things that they know they can and should be doing. And it is so unfortunate, because for so many people, they get so stuck, and they just hide and hide and hide. What we need to understand, what we need to start to do, is we need to realize that if we want to be able to move forward, if we want to take advantage of our lives, then what we have to do is we have to be able to learn how to step into those moments, even if they're uncomfortable. To say, hey, you know what? Somebody's number needs to be called. I have the capability, I have that number, and I know I'm able to do great things. And that is something that is so powerful, but yet so many people shy away from it. And if we could just learn to say, hey, you know what? I don't want to shy away from it. I want to be able to move forward. I don't want to be scared anymore. I want to be able to take advantage of the things that I know I'm capable of doing. I might not have the skills yet, but I know I'm capable of learning the skills to do. Then all of a sudden things are going to be extremely, extremely different for us. And I think this manifests many different ways. Number one, I really believe that a lot of it comes from low self-esteem and low self-worth. And just quickly, what's the difference between self-worth and self-esteem? Is self-esteem comes from being good at a bunch of different things that you've worked hard at in certain areas of your life. You're maybe confident in certain areas of your life, and you've seen success in certain areas of your life, and therefore overall your esteem feels better because you've done certain things that have made you feel good overall. And that comes from self-esteem. Self-worth is the intrinsic value that you believe in yourself, regardless of the exterior, regardless of what's happening on the outside. No matter what, I love myself. And that combo is very powerful, because the self-worth is going to help you stay focused and stay dialed in to be able to take the action regardless of the result. And the self-esteem is going to help motivate you to be able to do more of those things to continue to build your self-esteem. And it's, just throwing the confidence one over there. Like, you could be more confident in certain areas of your life, but when you're confident, you might be only confident in one specific area or certain specific areas, but not in other areas. So, a real an example of this is, you could be very confident in playing basketball, but when you get onto the hockey rink or whatever, the hockey rink, right, you might be awful and you might be terrible and you might have no confidence. And that's totally normal. That's totally fine. But when somebody has a high self-esteem, regardless of what's going on, they know they can start to do something because they've seen the results. The self-worth is saying, no, I don't need my results to know that I'm capable and I have the ability to do certain things. And I think a lot of times what happens with people who want to be able to take advantage, and for the people who want to be able to do the things that they know they want to be doing, what they really need to focus on is really starting to build themselves up. Because if somebody knows that they are capable of taking certain actions and to change their lives, to change other people's lives, all they really have to do is they have to start to just move forward and to do the things that they want to be doing. You see, the way we build our self-esteem is we take the action that's necessary daily in our own personal lives. So whether it's waking up at the right time that we want to be waking up, whether it's doing the things that we say we're going to be doing, eating the foods that we want to be eating, not binge watching at night, going to sleep on time, all the things that we know we're very capable of doing and they're in our control. That is how we build our self-esteem. Because if we could get a bunch of those days in a row where it's, I worked hard, I did the things that I said I was going to be doing, all of a sudden what's going to happen is you're going to feel amazing about yourself. You're going to start to get those wins under your wings. And then you're going to feel like, you know what, I could do a little bit more. I could do a little bit more. And then it starts to just take off like wildfire to be able to really build yourself up. And what happens with people who are scared, and the way that I like to call myself is, GBS. I was a good boy syndrome, that I wasn't able to move forward. I wasn't able to really take advantage because I just wanted to be a good kid. I checked all the boxes. I did all the things I was supposed to be doing. And yet I was floating. I was coasting. I was hiding behind. I was this like shadow in the background. And for other people, they might be saying, "What are you talking about, Bennett?" But like, that's the way I felt. Like that's literally the way that I felt. I never wanted to be the head of the thing. I never wanted to be able to take the initiative. I never wanted to be the leader. And I realized that over time that that's not what's supposed to happen. Like that's not my role. I really wanted to be doing those things. I just didn't know how to be doing those things. And it was something that was so powerful for me that I knew I needed to work on. And what's interesting also is that many times what happens is that the reason why somebody like that, myself, is taking that action is because it's so much easier. Think about it. If I don't have to put myself out there, if I could just play defense the whole time and not have to put myself offensively in the fight, the line of fire, so I'm never going to get hurt. Like, think about that. Like, I'm never going to be able to put myself out there. And I remember there was this example of a student of mine who, when I used to coach high school basketball, who was I would say the best player in the school. He was the best player in the school. He was a senior. He was phenomenal athlete. And for some reason, he didn't want to join the basketball team. And first, he blamed his parents. Like, my parents don't want me to join it. And then I asked his parents, I'm like, "Hey, what's going on? Like, he would be an amazing player." And he said, "No, like, he doesn't want to do it. We love him to play basketball." I was like, "Wait, what's going on here?" And then I got like a sponsor because maybe financially it was like a situation. Then I got a sponsor to like sponsor the kid. And for whatever reason that he came up with, he just kept making excuses. But what's interesting is that he used to come to all the games, and after the games, he used to trash talk with the other team and said, "Oh, if I was on the team, I would be able to do, we'd beat by so much more, or, it would be a totally different game where I would destroy you." Like, he would like trash talk to the other guys. But I found that very, very interesting because I believe the reason why he wasn't playing is because he was scared to put himself out there. His ego was holding himself back and saying, "Hey, if you put yourself out there, you might mess up. And guess what? If you mess up, that's going to be reflected on you. And that could be even more scary or more dangerous to yourself than not even playing. So, you know what, buddy, let's just not play at all. Let's not put ourselves in that line of fire." And when he said that, it was so impactful. It was so powerful because I know that he had this ability to be able to do so much. And yet he was holding himself back for so many years. And it was so sad. And I start to reflect on my life and all the things that I might not have done because I was so scared to put myself out there. And if we can start to recognize that, what are those things that we're scared to be doing? Why are we not putting ourselves out there? Then we have this ability to say, "Hey, you know what? I should be doing it in spite of this because it's not really me who was holding myself back. It's my ego because I'm so focused on the failure that's going to come on." And what's interesting is that people who, are people pleasers, or people who can't get themselves to say yes, the reason why they can't do it is because they constantly, they just don't know the frame, the shift that they have with failure is just totally off. They just don't have the right perspective in terms of what is that they need to be doing in terms of how they can handle failure. You see, when failure happens, because it's going to happen, you can either look at it as a reflection of you in a negative way of saying, "Hey, there's something wrong with me. I'm looking at a broken glass over here in the reflection of the mirror." Or we can say, "I'm looking at a reflection of you and myself and saying, hey, now I have more clarity in like who I really am and what I really need to do to build myself up. I see the broken glass, but look at the potential of this broken glass. I got to just start putting the pieces back together." And it's a really perspective in terms of how we're dealing with it. And what we have to realize is not failure. It's just feedback. It's just the mirror that's showing us back, looking back at us, reflecting back at us. And it's on us to take that advantage. And once we have that, that changes everything. Literally, it changes everything for us because then we have the potential to be able to move forward, to take advantage of whatever it is that we want to be doing. We don't have to be scared anymore to quit our job, to ask the girl or the guy out, right? We don't have to be scared to whatever it is that you want to be doing, to raise your hand in class, literally anything. You have that ability to be doing. And for so many of us, we get so scared, we get so stuck in terms of the direction that we want to be going because we're so worried about everybody else. And it doesn't have to be that way. And we have the ability to be able to move forward, to take advantage of that. And the question is like, are we going to? Do we want to? How could we reframe and reshift our mindset in terms of the direction that we want to be going in and then allow ourselves to be able to move forward, to take that action? And that is something that can be so, so powerful when it comes to the success that we want. The other idea that we have to realize is somebody in that position, somebody who's scared, somebody who can't take the action to put themselves out there, they might be very scared to just be vulnerable. For me, one of the things that I always talk about with my wife, I'm so grateful that she did from early on when we started, dating. She would always say, like, we need to be open and honest with each other, even if it might hurt the other person. Because what's interesting, especially in a relationship, that if you're not telling the other person, and you have to do it appropriately, you don't want to be a jerk about it, but if you're not telling the other person what they're doing that might be bothering you, you're going to have such buildup in terms of what's going on. And it's going to build up over months or years. And then one day you're going to snap, you're going to blow up, and you're like, I can't stand when you do X, Y, and Z. And they'll be like, I have zero idea what you're talking about. And then you'll be like, well, you do this every single time for the past 10 years. And they'll be like, well, why do you tell me? Like, I had no idea. Right? That's literally what happens all the time. And what we have to realize is that the more vulnerable, the more open that we can be, then all of a sudden we have this ability to be able to look to change and look to affect other people. And for so many of us, we get so stuck. We don't allow ourselves to be able to move forward, to take advantage. And if we can start to do that, then we have a way to be able to move forward and to do so much more. So what is it that we're going to be doing to allow ourselves to be able to move forward, to give ourselves the credit to say, hey, you know what? By putting myself in this situation, I know it's hard, but guess what? I'm being vulnerable right now. I'm allowing myself to get out there. And guess what? I might fail, or I might fall off the bike, or I might scratch my arm, whatever it might be. But guess what? We have this ability to take advantage of that, because for so many people, they get so scared of that action. And the last thing we need to understand, and the shift, this is like where it all comes into play, because you're like, okay, Bennett, I get it. I'm scared of failure. I have low self-esteem. I have a low self-worth. I'm not able to allow myself. I'm constantly hiding. I'm in the background. I'm the shadow of everybody else, but I know I'm capable of doing so much more. What am I supposed to do? How am I supposed to just flip the switch? And this is the trick. Okay. This is the trick. You better be listening to this. This is massive. On the one hand, you have such a low self-esteem. You might have such a low self-esteem and low self-worth and all these other things. But on the other hand, you're also being extremely selfish, because you're only looking at one side of the coin. You're looking at the side of the coin that you're on. But what about the side of the coin that everybody else is on? That all the people that you can impact, and all the people that you know you can affect, and all the change that you know you can make. And yet you're not doing it because you're scared, because I might get hurt. What about all the hundreds or thousands or maybe one or two people whose lives you can change, because you might be able to take an action? You see a stranger in the street and you just say good morning, but you're not scared to do it anymore because you're not sure how they're going to respond. Right? You're in the hallway and you go over to somebody who maybe doesn't have so many friends, and you sacrifice and you go over to the person and you just stop and talk to them about like science class or something like that, or a coworker who has very little social life because they might look different than you, and you go over to them and just ask them, hi, where are you from, where do you live, what's going on? So many of us are so focused on ourselves, and this doesn't just go for this type of person, but for so many people, they get so stuck with what is that they are doing. And what we have to realize is that it's not about us. If you think it's about you, you're going to constantly want more and more and more and more, and you're going to want to change. And guess what? You might not think you are capable of being that leader, being that number one out there. But there are a lot of people out there who are waiting for you to pull yourself up in order to help them get up the ladder also. And it's your responsibility. It's on you to be able to do. And if you want to be able to do something like that, if you have the ability, if you know you are capable, right? We're talking about people who know they're capable of making that change, making that impact. How much more of a responsibility? We have to stop thinking about ourselves in the equation. And when we do that, two things happen. Number one, we take all the pressure off of ourselves. And number two, we help other people while doing it. And we can become that person. So stop thinking about, I need to take the action for myself. It's not about you. You need to do it for the other people. For that one time you get a call, or you get a text, and I really appreciate it. Or, that one father who texted me because, he was like reading my WhatsApp statuses and I had no idea. And he calls me and he says, my son really needs your help. I'm like, I don't even know who you are. Or that person who asked if they could hang out over the weekend. And I'm like, I don't even know who you are. But for some reason, they're listening to the messages and they want to hear it. We all need to figure that out for ourselves. Who are those people around us? Who's that one person around us that we can start to change that life? Because we all know there might have been somebody in our life, a teacher, a friend, a parent, who had such an impact on us and really changed our lives. And if we don't realize that, if we don't recognize that, if your life doesn't change, then guess what? Other people's lives are not going to change. And I know it's going to be uncomfortable, and I know it might be scary, and I know at the end of the day you might not want to be doing it. It's like petrifying. But we have to realize that we have this ability, that we can start to do it. That, you know what? There's a little bit more than just this than us not being able to take that action. There's more on the line over here. You don't have to start massive. Start small. Think about what's one thing you can start to do. What's that small action that can be that little snowball that starts to knock the dominoes down? So I'm telling you, you have that capability. You have that potential. And just like this father was telling me about his son, like, I can't wait to work with his son because his son is so young and has so much more time to switch it up. How many times do I speak to, guys who are in their mid 20s, 30s, 40s, even 50s? I literally have like a 72-year-old client like come over to me. It's like, if you can work on this stuff, the amount of things and experiences and people's lives you can change is tremendous. We need to ask ourselves, what are we going to do about it? Wishing you all the best. It's not easy stuff, but I'm telling you, if we could start to shift this frame, I'm telling you, things can be extremely different in our lives and hopefully make the world a little better place. Have a good night or a great day. See you on the next one.